Hello, and welcome to Viewpoints, Dominion DMS's video podcast where we highlight our vendor partners. I'm Sharon Kitzman, president of Dominion DMS, and today we have the pleasure of speaking to Ken Luna, vice president of CreditMiner. Ken, thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
Excellent. Before we get into some of the hard-hitting questions, maybe you could just give us a little bit of your background, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about CreditMiner.
Sure. So I am let's put it this way, a decades-long industry veteran, as you probably know. My early years in the industry were in the DMS world with companies such as Cars Incorporated and Display Data, and this little company called UCS that I was with for many, many years. And but I branched off from that and focused mainly in the web development and web ancillary technology area. And that rolled me into helping start up CreditMiner, which is at the time was a division of Dealer eProcess. We spun off into our own company about 8 years ago. We're still joined at the hip with Dealer E, but we are a separate entity, and the strategy there, which we'll get into here in a few minutes when we talk about our offerings, will become evident as to why we did that.
Okay. Excellent. Well, it was great seeing you in January at NADA, and I trust that so far 2023 has been a successful year for you.
It has. It's kept us very busy. We've gotten ourselves involved with TransUnion, who's a really close partner of ours, in developing and coming out with an API for battling synthetic fraud. And matter of fact, I just spoke at the Auto Intel Summit in Raleigh concerning this very subject, which is one of those things where people go, what is synthetic fraud? And, I have to explain that. But then when they realize, and the information is that specific type of fraud cost our industry about $1 billion a year, not a million, $1 billion a year. It's a problem that people don't think about a lot until you're a dealer group or a dealership and you get hit with it. Right. And then you know immediately what it is after, you've been charged back a few $100,000 by the lenders because you got taken and they're not going to be on the hook for it.
Right. Right. Wow. Crazy world we live in.
Exactly.
So what sets CreditMiner apart in a dealer's eyes? What kind of unique value does CreditMiner bring to dealers, maybe compared to some competitors that you might have in our industry?
Well, unfortunately, we only have 30 minutes, so I'll try to summarize this. So on the soft credit pull side, which has been historically been our focus, we only do soft pulls. We have developed an FTC compliant, and it's very important, offering that can go on a dealership's website or work within their DMS or CRM protocol with our API, and also marketing companies. We're doing a lot of business with companies like Drive Auto, which is part of Sinclair Advertising, and also Driven IQ and some other companies. And then also obviously Dealer eProcess, but also one of their competitors, Synchro, which is now Ansera, also has us on their websites with a specific product to basically engage with people that want to get pre-approved, but don't want to give up their social, don't want to give up any of their information. But what we do from an FTC standpoint is we take it to the next step. We do a firm offer of credit. We break it down by credit tier. So when the individual gets their response back, it's a valid response. It's just not the error or someone saying, oh, you've been pre-approved, but it doesn't say what for. We've gone to the nth degree to develop that for the industry. And as far as I know, and I'm always careful about this, but as far as I know, we're the only company that does that. And it is an FTC requirement. If you've got that on your website or part of your advertising, where you're saying get pre-qualified or get pre-approved, you have to respond, you have to document it, and you have to keep it for 2 years. And the response has to be a valid response. So that's one of the things we do. The other big thing, like I was talking about a minute ago, is the synthetic fraud piece. Now, we've developed an API for this with TransUnion to work in DMS systems, to work in CRM systems, to work in digital retailing systems, to work anywhere that synthetic fraud may be an issue. And also the fact that this is a text-based system where the individual takes a picture of the front and back of their driver's license and they take a selfie. We've got companies that are interested in using this in the driver's license collection when you're doing test drives. Because what it does is eliminates the employee, if you will, handling the license and maybe mistakenly leaving it out or leaving a copy of it out, which will, if a state inspector happens to be there, that's $10,000 right there, if you get caught doing that. So it'll leave. So we built the API because instead of coming out with a product, because we believe that it needs to work within other processes for it to be effective. And so we're working with a lot of companies right now in getting that integrated and getting it built into their protocol. Great.
All right. NADA puts out a lot of facts and figures every year, but the one that I'm most interested in right now is that it says that dealers on average have 16 unique software solutions that they're using in some way, shape, or form to operate their business. It could be something like CreditMiner's API that's embedded into, some other solution, or it could be something like a DMS, like a CRM, et cetera. I think about, all the subscription services that I'm constantly trying to get rid of off of my phone and my TV and everything on a regular basis, and how hard it is to keep track of, what you've signed up for, and even harder probably to make sure that your team members in the dealership are using those solutions to their fullest potential. So most of those solutions want to integrate to the DMS at some level, because the DMS tends to be kind of that central hub of data and information, and almost everybody wants something to push into it or get something out of it. If you think about our two businesses as partners, trying to help dealers streamline their solution, is there anything that Dominion DMS could do to help CreditMiner to kind of smooth that process, to make it more streamlined or more robust for our common client, the dealer?
So, not put you on the spot, but you ask.
I did.
So we talked a little bit about the front end process, and any system that is integrated with Dominion DMS that has a front end process that is currently requiring a salesperson or sales manager to physically handle a driver's license, this API could be very helpful from that standpoint. If you're a digital retailing solution that integrates in with Dominion, the ability to have this anti-fraud solution built into it is also very beneficial. If you're a CRM, or if you are a DMS, even in the F&I department, you can use that API, API, and also the soft credit pull application at any point of that process. So, and then there's another API we have that I didn't mention yet, which is, a couple of APIs. One, we have a vehicle valuation API through another sister company called eAuto Appraise, that has all the valuation tables from Kelly, from NADA, from Black Book. They're all available with our API partnership with them. And then we also have what we call a plate to VIN API. So if you're in F&I or if you're in the service drive and you're not wanting to type out the entire VIN, the plate can be entered in and it'll go out and fetch the VIN from that plate information and pull that into whatever the system is. So we have a number of APIs, which is our specialty, outside of our one application that goes on dealership websites. But for the most part, most of what we do is involved from an API standpoint. So as far as Dominion DMS is concerned, any systems or within the Dominion DMS system itself, these are all protocols that could be valuable and could be used accordingly.
Right. Okay. So take more advantage of what CreditMiner has to offer, and also make sure that our other vendor partners know that those APIs are available from you as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So you and I operate in an industry that has its ups and downs. And if I think back, from the recession through to the pandemic and all the things that dealers have had to adjust to, sometimes very, very quickly, in order to continue to operate their business and continue to employ people that live in their community. I'm always thinking about how I can either add operational efficiency into the system, or maybe help them squeeze another dollar out of a sale or two. As you sit down with your team at CreditMiner and think about your next set of APIs or solutions for the dealer, are you thinking about upside in the industry? Are you thinking about a downturn? And how are you thinking about how you'll help dealers navigate that?
So, well, considering you and I both have been around a while, you're right. We both see it's like kind of like riding a roller coaster. I mean, that's just basically our industry.
That's
you
right.
go up and then you get the thrill going down, or it's not really a thrill when you go down, but whatever. And it's really hard to predict. I mean, I think people think they know what's going to happen, but if you look back on predictions, most of the time they're wrong. I mean, things outside of their control happen, and things bad happen and things good happen. Or, I mean, the pandemic really brought that out. I mean, there were so many things happening during that period of time where there was such gloom and doom at the beginning of it. And then everyone went like, well, this is really great for dealers, and so dealers just made out like bandits during it. So now it's back to the norm, back to reality. And now we're finally getting back to where, you're going to have to start selling again. I mean, they have for a while, but so
with some higher interest rates as well. Right?
Exactly. So from that standpoint, and we've just always felt this way, when you're telling somebody, a consumer, that they can get pre-approved, and you're giving them that information, you're actually telling them what they can get pre-approved for without, BSing them with the response. I think that's very valuable. And I think it's valuable for the consumer. It's certainly valuable for the dealership. If they have the right personnel and know what to do with the information, sometimes that's a big if. But the lead that they get back from that, containing all the credit info about that person, containing their FICO score, gives them an idea of where they are credit-wise and what they really realistically can afford or not afford. I mean, that's the way, if I was a dealer or a dealership, employee, I'd be thinking about it from that standpoint, making sure that we've got this person in the right fit and making sure we're putting them in the right car.
So no one's wasting their time, right?
Exactly.
And
not wasting the valuable time of the dealership. The only thing that you have to be careful about, and dealers know this better than I do, and all the ones that I speak with on an ongoing basis, it's, the credit score and the information you get is only part of the puzzle. So you got some information there, but use it wisely. It's not everything. It just gives you an idea. But going back to answer your question, I think that's very important, and also protecting consumers' data. It's not just that, this anti-fraud system that, we come out with TransUnion with our API. It's not only that it's protecting the dealership, but we're really protecting the consumer too. If someone has stolen their data or someone has falsified information about any piece of their data, this protects them, at least in that particular situation, in that particular environment. In a lot of cases, it can kind of bring out that, someone's stolen an identity and they didn't even know it, and it's trying to be used, and you find out about it. So, and that happens on a daily basis. My poor son yesterday came to me and said that his information had been hacked from a lender that, he had borrowed money from about a year ago. And now all of a sudden, and they didn't even notify him. He just found out about it just because something showed up on his credit report that he had not initiated. And once he did the digging on it. So all of that, and that's not going away. That's getting worse.
No, it's getting worse, right?
Yeah. So any defense that we can bring to the industry, both from the consumer and the dealership standpoint, we believe is very valuable.
Yeah, I agree. Excellent. Okay. So you and your team probably integrate, as you mentioned already, with a lot of CRM providers, a lot of DMS providers as through the process.
Yep.
Without naming names, right? If you think about the experiences that you've had through that integration path, is there any advice for myself or my team of how we can make this process easier for vendors going forward?
So I would say, and this is me preaching to the choir here, I know. So, but I would say, at least from the way we've designed our APIs and the way that we implement them, they're very well done. They're very, I wouldn't say simple, but they're plug and play type APIs.
Okay.
And it's what you do with the information and how you build it into your own protocol, and then how you implement it. That's really the key. I mean, we've got one company, and that will, as you said, remain nameless, and I'm certainly not going to name them in this environment. I mean, they've taken this protocol, they've been highly successful in selling it, but there's a certain amount of documentation that you have to gather when we're dealing with credit bureaus here, and you can't just plug and play on them. You have to get their documentation that they need, and there needs to be focus on that, and there needs to be, just like as you have to deal with from a DMS standpoint, there's so many moving pieces. When you install a DMS, you got to have the proper documentation, the proper people, and the proper focus on both sides to make sure that it's done properly. We deal with that from an API standpoint, and we track the success of our partners to see how they're doing and see if there's any bottlenecks or any roadblocks, and then bring out to them and say, hey, you've done a great job of sending us contracts, but you're not sending us any documentation to get them launched. So, and so that's one of the things that, from a vendor side, that you really need to be micro-focused on and being successful with any type of API or environment like that you're working with.
Excellent advice. Thank you. If there's a dealer, if there's another vendor out there listening and watching this podcast today, what's the best way for them to reach out and engage with CreditMiner?
So our website is, as we discussed before the call, it's ecreditminer.com. You can reach out to us. There's a toll-free number there. My email address is kluna@ecreditminer.com. You can reach me that way. I have a very large presence on LinkedIn. You can reach me on LinkedIn very easily. So those are probably the best ways to reach out to me.
Okay, Great. And if you're watching this podcast on the DominionDMS.com website, you can navigate at the top left to the partners page, and we have a list of all of our partners, and you can find CreditMiner there, which will link you to their website directly as well.
Excellent.
All right. So as we've already established, we both have multiple decades in this industry, and this industry is a fascinating industry. It's ever evolving, as we talked about earlier. But one thing that sticks with all of us that are in this industry are the cars. So do you have a favorite car, Ken? Do you have a favorite car memory? Do you have a favorite muscle car? What sticks out to you when you think about automobiles in the automotive industry?
So I've had a number of vehicles, obviously, in my lifetime, but probably my favorite one is actually being revved up outside my door right now. You probably can't hear it quite here, but it's rumbling. Yeah. It's my son's 2015 50th anniversary Mustang.
Oh, wow.
And it is it's a beauty. Wow. And kudos for him for not abusing this rocket ship that he drives. He's done a very good job of that, and it is his baby, you know, for many years until he got a serious girlfriend and now fiance. That was his date. I mean, he loves that car. So so that would have to be from a sentimental standpoint, even though it's not mine. I do obviously get to drive it. And that's probably my favorite one. And the fact that he I won't say where he got it from. I helped him purchase it along with my wife. That it was listed, and they didn't realize they were selling a 50th anniversary vehicle.
Oh,
so he got a steal on this car, and it's worth. I think it's worth more now than it was when he purchased it a few years ago.
Wow.
So anyway. That also makes it one of my favorites.
Good,
but,
good for him, because not
exactly.
not many vehicles appreciate. So that's
good. Very few, very few. So
what color is it?
It's silver.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
Nice, excellent. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, and thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. I know that all the information that you shared is going to be exciting for our dealers to hear, and maybe some of our partners as well. So I appreciate the time.
Well, we appreciate you giving us this forum to brag about ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great to see you again, Ken. Thank you.
Good seeing you too.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.